My husband has completely upended both our lives by asking me to double his lunch portions. Now he's lost his family, his green card, and everything else. My husband has completely upended both our lives by asking me to double his lunch portions for work. I'm using a throwaway account because I haven't fully decided on divorce yet, though I'm about 95% sure. I'm 26, my husband is 25, and we've been married for almost 2 years. We also have a 6-month-old baby. I work part-time to supplement our income and to cover the legal fees for getting him documented. Fortunately, the process for his residency seemed straightforward and was expected to take a maximum of 2 years. However, I've now decided to cancel everything and move forward with the divorce. My usual routine involved waking up an hour and a half before him to prepare his lunch, pack everything he needed for work, and have his breakfast, coffee, and clothes ready. This way, he could wake up, eat, get dressed, and head out within 30 minutes. He used to be content with the meals I packed: freshly cooked chicken in honey buffalo or lemon pepper seasoning, salads, or chicken wraps. Everything was healthy and homemade. I did this to make his life easier and to show my love and care. I've been doing it since we first moved in together over 3 years ago. Recently, he started asking for more food, saying he was still hungry after lunch. I found it odd since, regardless of whether I was working or not, he always had a home-cooked meal waiting for him in the evening. I brushed it off, thinking maybe he was trying to bulk up. To accommodate his request, I started including dinner leftovers, which meant packing what I would normally take to work. This led to me either skipping lunch and waiting until after work to eat or being late because I had to wait for food to be ready before packing my own. Since I'm breastfeeding, I can't afford to miss meals, so I'd sometimes leave food cooking on low heat or in the crockpot, depending on when he'd get home. Then, last week, while packing his lunch, I found an unfamiliar second fork in his lunchbox. It threw me off, so I asked him about it. He claimed he found it in the kitchen at work and decided to bring it home. That struck me as odd. Why wouldn't he just leave it there? I had already noticed small changes in his behavior but convinced myself I was just being insecure because I had recently given birth. However, finding that fork made my stomach churn. A few days later, I decided to visit my husband at work during lunch as a surprise, bringing dessert and a chance for him to see the baby. That's when I discovered the real reason he had been asking for extra food. The coworker he had claimed no longer worked there, the same woman I had caught him being too friendly with, the one I told him made me uncomfortable and had him block on WhatsApp, was not only still working there but was eating the fresh lunch I had made for him. Meanwhile, he was eating the leftovers. I didn't cause a scene. Instead, I took pictures and added them to my growing folder of evidence, everything from him hearting other girls' stories after denying it to explicit photos of a former coworker, the same one who got him fired from his previous job. I drove home in tears, packed my essentials, grabbed the baby's bassinet, and left for my sister and brother-in-law's house. Once there, I told them everything and showed them our WhatsApp conversations where he had outright lied to me, saying she no longer worked there. Since I usually text him throughout the day, he started messaging and calling, asking if I was okay, wondering what was for dinner, and letting me know he was almost off work. Then, he got home an hour earlier than usual, which made me question whether he had been lying about his work schedule too, only to find that both my belongings and the baby's things were gone. Waiting for him was a letter I had written, stating that he had 7 days to move out of my house, a legal notice my mom had given me when I was 20, just in case I ever needed it. I also made it clear that if he wanted to see the baby, he could coordinate with my mother. I would drop her off with her whenever he wanted visitation. But as for me, I wanted nothing to do with him. Along with the letter, I left printed photos of him and his coworker eating together, laughing, as proof of his betrayal. Later that night, after realizing I was completely done with him, I informed our immigration lawyer, who was part of a group WhatsApp chat with me, my husband, the paralegal, and my brother-in-law, our co-sponsor, that I no longer needed his services. Then, I privately messaged the lawyer, asking if I could transfer my case and the money I had already paid toward his divorce and family law practice instead. Unfortunately, he told me that wasn't possible due to a clause in our agreement. If we decided not to continue with the immigration process, we would forfeit the money already invested. Additionally, his immigration practice was run in partnership with different people than his family law practice. However, he offered to keep the case open until we received a response for our next government appointment. If things weren't resolved by then, he would proceed with canceling everything. Will this cause him to go insane because now if he doesn't get papers he has to choose between his daughter and parents? To either risk never seeing his parents and family again or never seeing his daughter again if he goes over there. He's begging me to the point I blocked him on everything. He's came to my BIL house and been told to leave or we are calling police. Then he later came back drunk with his buddies who then were all scared off by my BIL and his shotgun. I feel so lost, broken and depressed. I also have security at work to make sure he doesn't show up at my office. My sister tells me to leave him but not to divorce so he can never get with anyone else and get papers, but I can't do that to him. I went back home to check on the house and confirm that he had moved out, though I'm still staying with my sister. Surprisingly, everything was intact, no damage, and only his belongings were gone. That brought me a small sense of relief. I'm not looking for advice because my decision is final. I'm not going back. There's no trust left, and staying in that relationship would be harmful to my mental health. More importantly, I refuse to let my daughter grow up seeing that kind of relationship as an example. I needed to put this out there to help solidify it in my mind and recognize the pattern. He didn't just disrespect me, he took it a step further by having me unknowingly cook meals for her. I've been carefully budgeting, trying to make everything last, often eating less than I should or skipping meals when possible. If a meal was carb-heavy, I'd skip it, assuming I had enough for my milk supply. All of this just so I could cover bills, legal fees, his gym membership, and his supplements. Meanwhile, I've been sacrificing sleep to keep up with laundry and maintain a spotless home while caring for our baby. I went from being an independent, educated career woman to basically living the life of a 1950s housewife, except I still have a job and school, all because I blindly fell for this man. Saying I feel stupid would be an understatement. TLDR, my husband had me, his breastfeeding wife, skipping meals and going out of my way to prepare extra lunches, only for them to be eaten by his side chick at work. And now, I have the house, the cars, and my freedom, while he has lost his family, his chance at a green card, and the ability to stay in the US or visit his family in Mexico ever again. Edit, my phone keeps messing up the formatting no matter what I do. I tried double spacing this time, hopefully, it posts correctly. A few things I want to clarify based on the comments. My sister is not pushing me to stay in the relationship. She's advising me not to divorce him just yet, so he can't immediately marry someone else to get a green card. I haven't taken anything that wasn't already mine before we got married. Before me, he lived in a house with 7 other men, sharing a bunk bed. He drove a 2000 Buick that had to be unplugged from the battery just to start. That car eventually got scrapped due to electrical issues. The car he had been using was my car, the one I got in high school, which helped me through school, part-time jobs, and community college. Also, my mom isn't dead, she gave me my childhood home because I was going to college and it's 10-minute commute from the college. She gave it to me because I'm the last of the kids. All my brothers and sisters are at least 10 years older, and aside from my sister who's helping me, they all live in different states. He left home with a motorcycle, his customizing, his gaming systems, clothes, and the guest bedroom TV, which was the only TV that was not mounted. Also, I'm not keeping his daughter from him. I just personally don't want to see him because I know he will try to give me a ton of excuses and try to make me understand him. He can speak to my sister or mom and they will supervise him to see his daughter whenever he wants to. There is no battle in that. I don't think he's a bad father, but I just don't think my relationship with him is the example I want to give my daughter. Yes, I am Mexican too. My dad came to the States and then later brought my mom and 2 brothers, 2 sisters. Took a decade to see each other again, which is why I'm so apart from my siblings and the only one born here. Update. Sorry for the delay in updating, I've been busy getting my life back on track. This was originally meant to be a throwaway post, so I never expected it to gain so much attention, let alone have people actually wanting updates. To answer the most common question, did I leave him? Yes, I did. I also got a full medical checkup and, unfortunately, tested positive for an infection. Thankfully, it was treatable, and I was able to recover without further complications. This confirmed his infidelity. As I mentioned, I had a baby not long ago, and throughout my pregnancy, I was regularly tested for everything. Additionally, when I was 3 months postpartum, my doctor ran a full panel because I had a UTI and wanted to ensure that was the only issue. The fact that this infection appeared now left no doubt. Did I talk to him to get his side of the story? Yes. When I informed him about the infection, I gave him the chance to speak freely. At that point, there was nothing left for him to ruin, it was already over. Here's the TLDR of his response. He never meant to hurt me and still loves both me and our daughter. He enjoyed the attention, he found it exciting and refreshing. It was an escape from the stress of bills, parenting, my so-called emotional state, and the general routine of life. Life had become boring, and she simply entertained him. Oh, I'm so sorry that your wife actually brought structure to your once chaotic life. That's about all I could take seriously from the hours of begging, excuses, gaslighting, and deflecting blame. The rest of his nonsense included claiming the infection was a common one, blaming it on bacteria from cows, or on his habit of peeing outside without washing his hands. Insisting she doesn't even like men and was just one of the guys. Really? Saying he only gave her lunch that one time because she forgot hers and happened to notice he had too. Acting shocked that I would assume he would ever break up his family, while fully admitting he knew what he was doing. Once I showed him my MyChart results and explained that this was not a random bacterial infection like E. coli but an actual transmissible infection, his excuses fell apart. I also made it clear to him that I hadn't been with anyone else since we met. My doctor had already explained that if I had any transmissible disease, it would have been detected during my pregnancy. Routine testing covers all potential risks, and because of my high-risk pregnancy and preterm labor, she ran extensive tests to determine the cause of my complications, both during and after my pregnancy. Nothing ever came up. After hearing me out and seeing my doctor's note, he finally admitted to it. Side note, I have the best OBGYN. She was incredibly supportive, listened to me cry, even had a nurse take my daughter out of the room so I could break down, and reassured me that with a simple medication, everything would clear up. She also printed out information for me and made sure I knew I wouldn't have any long-term health issues. As for him, he's currently staying at a dairy farm in a trailer that the owner lent him. And for those who assumed she would take him in, it turns out she's engaged in preparing for her wedding while adjusting her immigration status. As for me, I'm back to living on my own. My baby is doing great. I've lined up another office job starting in January, and I've applied to several universities. I'm currently taking community college classes online, but if I get accepted into a university, I'm planning to move out of this town. My grandma even offered to move with me to help out. Some days are harder than others, like tonight. It's late, and I can't sleep because I miss him. But I'm keeping myself busy, clearing out my home to start fresh and getting everything organized. I won't pretend I'm doing amazing. On my days off, I barely get out of bed. My house is clean, but my bedroom? Not so much. My laundry basket is overflowing, and I've been sleeping with the guest blankets and pillows instead of making my bed. People at work have noticed I've been slower, and they even offered me time off, which I initially declined. But now that rumors about what happened have spread to my workplace, I might reconsider. Finally, thank you. I appreciate all the kind and supportive messages. While some people have sent hateful comments, the overwhelming support has meant so much to me. Edit for update. I woke up to a call from my husband. He apologized again. I'm still standing my ground, but he told me that he had been talking to some guys at work about free clinics and where they go when they're sick. Turns out, that same woman has been sleeping with multiple people there. I don't know if it was all around the same time, but one of the guys even told my husband where to get treated, because he had caught it from her too. His apology sounded more sincere this time, but I think it's only because he realized he wasn't special to her, just another guy she slept with. Still, he didn't make as many excuses this time. Instead, he actually took accountability, saying he had won the lottery and threw it all away. He begged for a second chance, saying he didn't know what came over him. He admitted that he hates coming home to an empty trailer, that he misses seeing his daughter right after work. What really got to me was when he said that, back then, he used to feel more exhausted coming home to us. The baby would get excited to see him, cry to be held, and during the week, I'd leave easy meals ready for him so he could eat before I left for work. He said he started getting tired of it, the same meals, the same routine, coming home and having to watch the baby so I could leave for my shift. Hearing that solidified my decision. I don't just not want to go back to him, I don't even want another relationship. I worked so hard to build a stable home for my family, and to him, it was just a chore. I did everything I could to make life easier for him. I handled a fussy, tired child until he got home so that she would mostly sleep, meaning he'd only need to give her a single bottle before bed, but even that was too much for him. Now, he says he would give anything to have that routine back. He comes home to a cold, empty trailer with nothing but a bed and a fold-out table. He's fallen off his diet because he doesn't have time to meal prep. He's spending extra money on lunch because there's no food waiting for him. He misses our daughter so much that he cries when he gets home. I told him I didn't know what to say. If he wanted to see the baby when I'm at work, he could go to my mom's, she babysits now. And knowing her, she would never turn him away, and she would probably even feed him. So if he really wanted to spend time with her, he could do that. But I couldn't talk anymore. I had to go. When I tell you I've never cried this hard in my life, that's not an exaggeration. And the fact that it's raining today? It just makes everything worse. I think I'm going to call into work today and tomorrow. I need to talk to my boss about taking a couple of days off. Update. I was planning to take a break from everything, but I figured I should update everyone. I'm now being harassed by the woman my husband cheated with. She somehow found out where I live and started targeting me. Apparently, her fiancé discovered her affair, and she assumes I'm the one who told him. I have no idea who he is or how he found out, but now she's blaming me. It feels like everything is just going from bad to worse. I had to leave my car at my mom's garage and borrow my nephew's car. My neighbor even let me park in her driveway because this woman threatened to ruin my car the way I ruined her relationship. The irony isn't lost on me. Same day as the previous update. So, my husband cheated on me, and now, the woman he cheated with is harassing me. From what I've gathered, she was engaged and was about to transition from a visa to residency through her fiancé, but somehow, he found out about her affair with my husband. Since about 4 p.m. today, she has punctured a hole in one of my tires. Written "homewrecker" across my front bay window. Called me repeatedly from different numbers. After I blocked her, I started getting spam texts from random numbers. Threatened me by saying, "I'll ruin your car like you ruined my relationship." This all happened just today. I called the police, but by the time they arrived, she was gone. Since I don't have proof that she's the one doing all this, they told me their hands are tied unless they catch her in the act. My mom and stepdad have offered to install cameras around my home, and they're keeping my car at their place for now. They also want me to stay with them, but I don't want to leave my house unattended in case she tries something worse. The only thing the police could do was set up random patrols in the area, meaning they'll be driving by occasionally. I don't know what to do. I'm already dealing with leaving my husband, and now I have to deal with this too? Does anyone have any advice before this escalates further? New to this sub, comments. Commenter. Your situation is very similar to mine, which started 15 years ago. I made the decision to stay so my husband could get his green card and remain with our son. In return, I endured years of abuse. He was a narcissist who subjected me to all kinds of mistreatment. I stayed for my child's sake, but after 15 years, I finally left. The moment I did, he completely cut off contact with our son. Looking back, all the suffering I endured was for nothing. Boop. He was never physically abusive, but in hindsight, I realize he was extremely manipulative and immature. I don't want to waste any more time on him. If I could go back, I would never have given him the time of day. This has been the worst month of my life, and I honestly don't believe things would have ever improved had I stayed. The stress has taken a huge toll on me. I've lost so much hair, and my milk supply has dropped so drastically that I may need to start supplementing with formula soon. My mom keeps telling me to just switch to formula entirely, saying my stress is affecting the baby. But with the ongoing formula shortage, I really don't want to. Even if I had stayed, I doubt my situation would have been any better. He wouldn't have changed, he would have just gotten better at hiding his behavior. My trust issues, which were already there before all of this, would have continued to eat away at me. So, I'm just grateful that God opened my eyes before things got even worse. I'm really sorry your ex put you through so much and that all your suffering felt pointless. I believe it just shows how much your son meant to you and how selfless you are. Update comment. Thank you. My baby and I are doing better. She's okay for now, but unfortunately, I've started showing physical signs of the extreme stress I've been under. As of Wednesday, I haven't had any more issues with that woman. My stepdad installed security cameras, and the moment I got an alert of movement, I called the police. I don't know what she was planning, but she spent enough time lurking under my kitchen and laundry room windows for the police to catch her trespassing. Now that I have video evidence, I sent it to the same immigration lawyer we originally worked with. He's filing an immigration report on her, using both the footage and an earlier photo I had of her working illegally. From what I understand, he'll use this to prove that not only is her visa no longer active, but she's also been staying in the country illegally while engaging in criminal activity. I have no idea what she wanted, but if she had just left me alone, I wouldn't have done anything. I never reported her to her fiancé or tried to sabotage her life. Everything that happened was just the natural course of events. But now, in order to protect myself, I've had the lawyer report her. Update comment. TLDR, I'm okay. My ex is still my ex and still sleeping around. The harassment has lessened, but now more people are involved. Either my ex is dumber than I thought, or he's manipulating women into harassing me. As for the girl, my ex, and the other illegal workers, they were all fired, but as far as I know, they haven't been deported. We're managing. I've become numb to all the gossip and am just counting down the days until my office closes for the holidays. I plan to spend some time in Mexico until we reopen in mid-January. I've also made friends with a local police officer, and he regularly checks on me and patrols the area. His wife has even stayed with me to help with my daughter and make sure I feel safe. I stopped posting updates because my previous post gained a lot of traction, so much so that she found out about it. Apparently, her husband uses Reddit, and after discovering her affair and all the drama, he put the pieces together and reached out to me. I verified his identity over the phone, and we later met in person to talk. Editor's note: the post did spread widely across different subreddits and even outside of Reddit, on Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, and TikTok. So, it's not surprising that someone found it. It turns out her husband reported her for overstaying her visa, but somehow, she wasn't deported. However, she, my ex, and several others were fired from their jobs because of his report. According to him, she won't be able to renew her visa since she originally came as a tourist, meaning she was never legally allowed to work in the first place. He apologized for her behavior and offered to help me, but I declined. His involvement might make things worse. As for my ex, he's back to sleeping around and clearly hasn't learned his lesson. At this point, I don't care anymore. I've accepted that he's not the man I married. I'm actually disgusted by him now, to the point where I don't even like him kissing our daughter. Since getting fired, he has more time and sees her when my mom watches her, but I've asked my mom to make sure he leaves before I pick her up. If he sees me, he immediately starts crying and trying to hug me. The police haven't been much help aside from the officer I befriended and his wife. And now, it's not just her harassing me, it's at least 3 of her friends, plus a few other women my ex has slept with. Apparently, he tells them he still loves me and wants me back, which either means he's incredibly stupid or he's manipulating them into attacking me on his behalf. To protect myself, I've deactivated all my social media accounts. The few I still use are private and under a different name. I only use them to keep in touch with people. I don't post anything anymore. Sorry for the long and possibly boring update. OOP ads. One of the people who kept sending me hate messages, calling me a psychopath, saying I deserve to be cheated on, and just talking trash about me, turned out to be her. Her ex-husband confirmed it was her account. Mini comment update. She's finally stopped harassing me, but I think it's because she no longer knows where I live, work, or what I'm doing. Coincidentally, or not, once I stopped sharing information with my ex, she stopped tracking me down. Now, I only meet my ex in public. Final update comment. At this point, I'm just trying to focus on healing. Looking back, I feel disgusted thinking about all the effort I put into him. I used to look into his green eyes and admire his long lashes. Now, all I notice are his acne scars and bad skin. I used to get excited for him to come home. I would think about what special thing I could do for him, what would make him smile. Now, I just wonder how many times he was cheating on me while I was busy preparing something nice, while I was making sure he came home to a warm, clean, welcoming space. I never thought I'd reach a point where seeing him would fill me with dread or give me anxiety. Now, I'm just focusing on myself.